Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Daily Millwall. In this video, we're going to be talking about Gary Rowetts' first 100 games in charge of Millwall and what that means, how we feel about that. How was he done? A lot of people not too happy, and a lot of people saying, well, what else? Who else are we going to get? He's as good as he's going to get for us. There's not a load of people out there queuing up to get the Millwall job. So let's just dive into it and start where it began. The old manager, Neil Harris. So this is from bbc.co.uk and this is back in 3rd of October 2019. In the good old days. Neil Harris, Millwall boss, steps down from Championship club. Neil Harris has stepped down as manager of Championship club Millwall after more than 4 years in charge. The Lions are winless in their past 7 league matches and are 18th, 5 points above the relegation zone. Harris was appointed as boss in April 2015 following a 6-week spell as caretaker. His assistant Dave Livermore has also departed the den, and Adam Barrett has been placed in temporary charge ahead of the visit of Leeds on Saturday. I would like to place on record my sincere gratitude to Neil for all of his hard work, commitment, determination and inarguable success, Chairman John Berylson told the club website. Neil's achievements ensure that he is listed alongside some of the club's greatest ever managers, furthering his legendary standing at Millwall. He has laid tremendous foundations from which the club can continue to build on in the months and years ahead. Neil's name is synonymous with Millwall, and he always had the very best interests of the club at heart, managing with great pride, honour and integrity, and he departs with the best wishes of everyone connected with the Lions. Under the management of Harris, who scored 138 goals over 2 separate spells with Millwall as a player, the Lions reached the FA Cup quarterfinals twice in 2017 and 2019. He remains the club's all-time goal scorer despite being diagnosed with cancer when he was just 23. He guided the club to promotion back to the second tier in 2017 after reaching the League One playoff final for a second consecutive season. So there you go, a winning manager until he wasn't winning, and he resigned. So let's have a look now at what we were getting from Gary Rowett. So the manager, Gary Rowett. So his first club was Burton Albion, 2012. Although let's read it. This is from Wikipedia, Gary Rowett's Wikipedia. So take that with a pinch of salt. But let's just assume that what's written is correct. In May 2019, Rowett was named as assistant to Paul Pescasolido at Burton Albion. Rowett was put in temporary charge of Burton following Pescasolido's sacking in March 2012. So he was there for 3 years as an assistant before he got put in charge. On 10th of May, Rowett was announced as a permanent manager of Burton Albion. In his first season, he led Burton to 4th place in League Two, losing in the playoff semi-finals to Bradford City. And the season after, he got 6th place to finish, but he lost 1-0 in the playoff final to Fleetwood Town. Whilst in charge of Burton, Rowett oversaw their best ever League Cup performance as they reached the 3rd round in 2012-13 before being eliminated by Bradford City. They equalled this achievement 2 years later under his successor Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Unfortunately, he was also in charge for their 2 worst defeats in the Football League, both 7-1. The first was against Bristol Rovers in April 2012, and the second against Port Vale in April 2013. So there you got the highs and the lows. He made the playoff finals. He made the playoff semi-final, made the playoff final, but lost. Got the best ever League Cup performance from Burton in their history, but ended up losing two league games 7-1. In September 2014, with Burton near the top of the League Two, Rowett rejected the opportunity to manage Championship strugglers Blackpool. He said it was not the right job for him at the present time. But on October the 14th, he was appointed manager of his former club, Birmingham City, club that he played for. Between 98 and 2000, played 87 games for them. And Birmingham one place above Blackpool at the bottom of the Championship table. He was joined at Burn by Kevin Summerfield and Mark Sow. And Paul was goalkeeping coach. Rowett guided Birmingham from 21st in the Championship to the 10th at the end of his first season. But Rowett was sacked by Birmingham on December 2016 following a change of ownership, and they brought in Gianfranco Zola because they were playing real life Football Manager. So they wanted a name, and that name ended up getting Birmingham in a relegation battle. So he didn't really have enough time at Birmingham, but what did he do at Birmingham? So let's have a look at this. This is from ENFA, the English National Football Archive. So first season 10th, second season 10th, and then sacked 3 months into the third season with Birmingham, and I think they ended up finishing 19th. So there you go. Go back to this. So what's happened here? So Rowett was appointed as the new manager of Derby County, another of his former clubs as a player, on March 2017. So he's sacked in December 2016. He comes back in March 2017. So he's about 4 months without a job. And he signed a contract until the end of the 2018-19 season. Rowett took over with Derby, sat in 10th place. And he guided them to 9th. 9th place finished. Yeah, so they finished 9th. Then the season after, they finished 6th, getting into the playoffs. Let's see how that happened. So Rowett signed 5 players, adding experience to the Derby side, which had gained a reputation for post-Christmas slumps in form. Older players: Tom Huddleston 30, Curtis Davies 32. He raised the average age of the squad. After a slow start of just 3 wins in the opening 10 games. That sounds eerily familiar. 13 wins from the following 20 matches saw the team climb to 2nd place at the turn of the year, with Rowett winning Championship Manager month for October and December 2017. On January 2018, Rowett was linked with the job at Premier League Stoke, but instead signed an improved contract and lasting until 2021. So Stoke were interested in him, and it seems he parlayed that interest into a decent contract for himself. And despite Rowett adding further experience to the squad with the signing of 30, so he's signing a lot of old people here. 31-year-old Cameron Jerome. Derby again suffered a post-January slump, winning just 2 out of 13 league matches. Now that sounds very familiar, doesn't it? That sounds eerily familiar to us last season. A run that included heavy defeats to relegation candidates Sunderland and Burton Albion, to briefly fall out of the top 6 before a brief resurgence in their final 3 games saw them qualify for the playoffs on the final day of the season. 6th place finish. The playoff campaign ended in defeat, Derby losing 2-1 on aggregate to Fulham despite winning the first leg. So that was the semi-finals. And soon after the end of the season, Rowett requested permission to talk to Stoke City about their vacant managerial position. So let's skip over back to here. So he finishes 6th in the Championship. And Stoke were in the Premier League. They were linked with him. Didn't go. They get relegated to the Championship. He does go. So Rowett was appointed Stoke City manager on 22nd May 2018, signed a 3-year contract with Stoke paying compensation for him. Stoke, having been relegated from the Premier League the previous season, gave Rowett a large transfer budget. The parachute payments. The players he brought in were goalkeeper Adam Federici, Experienced centre-back Ashley Williams, full-back Kuko Martina, midfielders Sam Clucas, Peter Itubu, Ryan Woods, that does sound familiar, Tom Ince, James McLean, and forward Benica Phoebe. The team made a poor start to the campaign, winning only 2 of the opening 10 matches. Stoke won back-to-back games at the beginning of October against Bolton Wanderers and Norwich City, before losing to Rowett's old club Birmingham. City then went 10 games unbeaten through November and December, but made little progress up the table as Stoke drew 6 of them. Now this is all sounding very familiar. So they went 10 games unbeaten, but they weren't going up the table because they drew 6 games out of 10. Conceding late equalisers on 3 occasions. Stoke's run was ended by another defeat to Birmingham on Boxing Day. After poor results against Bolton and Bristol, supporters began to call for Rowett's departure. Rowett's contract with Stoke was terminated by the club on 8th of January 2019. So he's there for... He's not even there for the whole season. So when you spend the big bucks, you've got to follow through. And the board, even after they paid $2 million for him to transfer him, they just thought, nah, let's bail out on this guy. And so from January 2019, he was out of a job until Millwall came knocking on in October 2019. So on 21st of October, Rowett was appointed as the new Millwall manager, succeeding Neil Harris, who left after more than 4 years in the post. On his debut 5 days later, the team won 2-0 at home to his previous club, Stoke. So a couple of things there that stand out. The Stoke one, yeah. City then went 10 games unbeaten through November and December, but made little progress up the table as they drew 6 of them. How familiar does that sound, eh? How familiar does that sound? So here. So he starts in May 2018, gets bombed out in 2019, January, and Stoke end up finished 16th in that season. Which is, with all the money they spent, and they've just got relegated. They thought they were the business. They thought they were going to be there, or they're about to go straight back up. And you see what he's done here is he's won 8 games. So for Stoke here, won 8 games, drew 11, lost 7. So hard to beat, but drawing too many games there. Drawing far too many games. One thing I also want to draw your attention to. So we've got playoffs. So we've got playoff semi-finals at Burton that he lost to Bradford City. We've got playoff the next year, League 2 playoffs. So he won in the semis, got to the final, lost 1-0 to Fleetwood. So that would have been at Wembley. Or I don't know if it was at that time, but it would have been, maybe it was in Cardiff. I don't know. But it would have been a big cup playoff final. Lost it 1-0. Derby County sneaked into the playoffs the last day of the season. Lost in the semi-finals to Fulham 2-1. They won the first leg, so I'd assume they won that 1-0. So they narrowly win 1-0 in the first leg, and then they must have lost the second leg 2-0. And now the reason why I'm bringing that up is if we go back to this from the English National Football Archive and look at FA Cup, what do you see? Nothing. Literally nothing. Now, the only thing is Burton Albion So they would have started in round 1. So he had them winning 2 games to get to round 3 in the second season and the third season. But apart from that, he's done nothing in the FA Cup. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is to get into the playoffs but not winning them. Because what happens is, the league is the league. So you play your league games, you get points from those games. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. And that gives you points that moves you up the table. There's a ranking of how teams with the most points. The top 2 teams go up. The next 4 are in the playoff. So it's okay drawing game, winning game, not losing games to try and get up that table. But when you get in the playoffs, it switches. It's a cup competition then. It's a 4-team knockout competition with 2-legged semi-final and then a showpiece final at Wembley. And what we're seeing here is that at Burton Albion, he got to the playoffs, lost in the semi-final. The season after, got in the playoffs, won the semi-final, lost the final, 1-0 at Derby County. Sneaked into the playoffs last day, won the first leg 1-0, lost the second leg 2-0, lost in the semi-final to Fulham. And in these cup games, so Burton Albion would have started in round 1. First season he's with them, they lose. Or maybe, no, I don't think he would have missed. He wouldn't have been in charge for that. He was assistant. He wouldn't have been in charge for that because he started in March, so he would have missed that. That would have been November the previous season. So disregard that. That's not up to him. So the following seasons, he wins the first 2 rounds, and then again. So for the Burton game, so he would have been gone for that. He wouldn't have been there for that. So that's not on him either. But Birmingham, so this is on him. He jumps from League 2 to Championship, which is remarkable to me. I imagine because he had connections at Birmingham. But even then, like, why would they? I mean, he was doing well in Burton in League 2. But if you're a Millwall fan, would you want a League 2 manager to come in and manage Millwall? I don't think so. But apparently Birmingham did. They snapped him up from League 2. And tellingly, after he left, they won the league. So this is what Burton did that season. But he left in October. So the rest of that season, they ended up going up, I think probably under Jimmy Floyd. They won the league. But you look from Birmingham, so they've round 4. So he won the 3rd round, lost the 4th round. The next 2 seasons, lost in the 1st round. Lost in round 3. The 3rd, he wasn't there for this one. He wasn't there for that because they sacked him in December. He would have missed that. What? Okay, this isn't working out as I intended. But what's happening is, what the point I'm trying to make, as I'm waffling, is There's no cup runs here. There's no cup runs. Not even for us. Now this season, we won the 2 games in the League Cup. They were against lower league opposition. As soon as we play a team on our same level or above us, we lose. It happened last year against Bristol City. We lost. We won 1 game. I think it was against Newport. The game after, against someone in our own league, we lose it. Lose it quite badly, 3-0. Because here's the thing, you cannot draw a cup game. It needs to be won. Because we need a winner to go through to the next round. It's knockouts. Winner stays on. So setting your team up the way that Gary does to not lose a game is not conducive to success in the FA Cup. And maybe it's not conducive to playoffs and winning the playoffs, because that is effectively a cup competition. So it's all very well and good us trying to get into the playoffs, but when we get there, how are we going to win them? We're going to draw 2 games and then have a penalty shootout? Or is Gary actually going to try and win the game? I don't know. So there you go. Now, this is from millhistory.org.uk. This is a fan-run website that has lots of good stuff on it. So here we can see, chronologically, going backwards, Gary Rowett is there. 1 year, 11 months, 23 days. 100 games in charge. Yeah, that's why I'm making this video. First 100 games. And there you go. 38% win, 34% draws, 28% defeat. And that is pretty decent in terms of defeats. That's very good. We haven't lost that many games percentage wise. But if you go back to, it's not that much better than Neil Harris. Now Neil Harris played most of his games in League One. I can hear you calling out. I know that, but it's 31%. It's not a difference. But Neil Harris had 41% win rate, only 26% draws, and a goal difference of 42. Now, yeah, it's League One and it's Championship. It's a whole different level. So, who can we compare Gary Rowett to? Probably Dennis Wise. That was in this level. That was at this level. So, 89 games for Dennis Wise, 40% win, 26% draw, 32% defeat, plus 7 goal difference. So not that dissimilar, but again, not as many draws. Nowhere near as many draws, percentage wise, but similar onto the goal difference. Because Gary Rowett's goal difference is plus 9, and Wise's was plus 7. And Gary Rowett reaching 100 games. It's not that many managers getting up to that amount of games. So you've got, obviously had Neil Harris getting to 245, Kenny Jackett 306. Have to go way back. Dennis Wise didn't get to 100. Mark McGee 164. Very decent win rate and goals as well. Plus 55. Plus 55 goal difference. But again, he was in League One as well for some of that. 45% win rate, 23% draws, 29% defeat. and then you have to go all the way back to Mick McCarthy and then Bruce Rioch as managers who've had 100 games or more. So not that many managers Millwall getting to 100 games. So well done Gary Rowett for getting that far. Although it might have been different last season. And maybe he got saved by, with all the games being behind closed doors, the fans weren't there to express themselves and make it known they were not happy. It's not the same when you do it online and you do it on YouTube comments or Twitter. It's not the same. So what can we say about Gary Rowetts? So the big thing about Gary Rowetts is draws. He draws a lot of games. He draws a lot of games. How does that compare with Millwall managers of the past? So the top four, you can really discount them because it was very low amount of games. 1 game, 6 game, 22 games. That's this bit here. 5 games. So you have to go down to Gordon Jago from 1974 to 1977 to have more draws than Gary Rowett percentage wise. He had 158 games, had 36.7%, and you got to imagine that was, I think that might have been, that's before my time, but I think that was Division 3 or maybe even Division 4, and then not good times for Millwall. So that's, and you can see a similar +3 goal difference there. 186 goals scored, 183 goals conceded. It's not that good. But then we get down to someone that's pretty interesting. Mick McCarthy. So 34.78, so close to Gary Rowett's 34. He had 207 games, 74 wins, 72 draws, 61 defeats. So this is very similar. Look how close they match up. Gary Rowett's probably, he's won slightly more percentage wise than Mick McCarthy, but Mick McCarthy. Now here's the thing: Gary Rowett's still in the job. When the wheels start coming off, he's gonna start losing. That's gonna mess up his stats, and then he's gonna be out of a job. And then we can see how it all lands. But at the moment, so his win percentage will be higher because he hasn't gone on that run of the defeats that caused him to get fired. So, but I think it's very interesting that the manager that he seems eerily similar to is Mick McCarthy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mick McCarthy, now he had a reputation of playing around with the formation. Quite notable times playing the diamond formation, and that was quite unique in Millwall history. Having a manager trying to play that way, trying to play out, looking at like the continental way and trying to maybe play a little bit like that. And I think that's very eerily similar, and you can see here like Mick McCarthy's goal difference +11, Gary Rowett's +9. The loss percentage isn't that much different. The draw percentage is nearly spot on. So is it a little bit of history repeating? Are we going to see similar to Mick McCarthy and Gary Rowett? So maybe we will, maybe we won't. But yeah, Quite similar to how Mick McCarthy with his diamond formation, and Gary Rowetts with this 3-4-2-1, 3-4-1-2, whatever. 3-5-2-1, wherever he's playing. Pretty similar to Mick McCarthy in terms of changing around with the formations and stuff like that. So that's how he compares to various other Millwall managers. Let's just have a quick look at the win percentage. And 38%. You have to go quite a ways down. Now if we discount the first 3 there, because they're only playing 2 games each, so you knock them off, but he's still a ways down. You got Billy Gray, George Graham, Mark McGee, Keith Stevens, Kenny Jackett, Bob Hunter, Willie Donachie, all above him in terms of winning games. And that's because he draws too many. But Neil Harris, Dennis Wise. So there you go. We will see what the future holds for Gary Rowett and his stats as a Millwall manager. But let's look back at the past again. 2019-20. 135th year of Millwall's existence, and this was the season when it got interrupted by COVID. You can see here pre-season, hot and cold, lost away to Southend, but drew to Real Sociedad at home. I went to that game, and here you can see, yeah. So the Luton Town game was what done it. After that, that's when Neil Harris resigned. So started off well. This is Neil Harris. Started off well. 1-2, draw and 1. But then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games without a win. And he said, that's not good enough. And he quit. 7 games without a win. Only 3 defeats. The rest were draws. So then he resigns on the 3rd of October. After the Luton Town game, the day after. Adam Barrett comes in. He's in charge for the win against Leeds, the loss to Brentford, and the draw to Cardiff City. And then Gary Rowett comes in for this game here against Stoke City, which we win 2-0. And you can see here, so then we lose to Reading. And then we go on a unbeaten run of 7. And then we lose to Barnsley. Another unbeaten run of 5. And then a little spell without a win from Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday, West Brom, Fulham. We beat Preston. And then we have a little run of without a win, 2 draws and a defeat. And then we beat Nottingham Forest, Matt Smith hat-trick. And you look at the date, check the date, 6th of March. Then there's a gap. That's when the COVID break hits. And then we come back from that a couple of months later, 20th of June, behind closed doors, no fans, losing to Derby 3-2. And that's another thing that does seem to recur. When we lose bigly. Losing 3-2 to Leeds, losing 3-2 to Derby County, losing 4-3 to Queen's Park Rangers. And then we finish up Huddersfield Town 1-4-1. But again, here in the cup, this is under Rowett. So we get the lower league opposition. We win that game. Play the then Premier League Sheffield United at home. Nada. 0-2. The League Cup. Won the game against West Brom. Drew with Oxford but lost on penalties. Away. But that was both of these games were under Neil Harris, so that's nothing to do with Gary Rowett. But what did Gary Rowett do? So this is the squad. We're not going to dwell on that too much because we were talking about Gary Rowett, his first 100 games in charge. So he's inherited a squad here, these players from Neil Harris. Signings and whatnot. Now, so Gary Rowett took over in October 2019. So this signing here, Bart Biakowski, being signed after he was on loan, and then they signed him permanently for $900,000. It's probably the best bit of business club they ever done in a long time. Absolutely amazing goalkeeper. So that was under Gary Rowett's watch. But these are Gary Rowett signings down here, the loans. You know them as Ryan Woods, Mason Bennett, and the Luke Steele one was done. So Luke Steele was a Neil Harris signing. He signed on loan initially till January, but then Gary Rowett extended it. So these are Gary Rowett's first signings in Millwall player. And again, so some September, that's Neil Harris. November, so these youngsters going out on loan is Gary Rowett, Jesse Deborah, Jason McCarthy, Harvey Bradbury, Isaac Alofi, Junior Tenzia. These are all under Gary Rowett watch. So right then and there, he's loaning out the best players of the under 23s, because why would you want to be the best player in under 23s when you go out and play in a proper men's team and prove yourselves there? Because you've already proven yourself in the under 23s if you're one of the best players in the under 23s. So that's probably something that's Gary Rowett's adopted, which you've got to think, well, that he's got a point there. He does have a point there. It kind of weakens the under 23 team though, but then you would say, well, that leaves room for other players to step up, because they need to step up. Someone needs to do something. And that's when you loan out the best players for the under 23s to other teams to get them actual proper man's football experience, then the players left behind, they either step up or they step out. They need to do something, or they're not going to be around. And one transfer out, I don't know if this was down to Gary Rowett or it was just situation. Tom Elliott. So he got rid of Tom Elliott, probably one of the worst players to play for Millwall in a long while. There's many contenders for that role, but he's up there. So there you go. But here's the thing: these two are the ones, Ryan Woods and Mason Bennett, and they were loans in, and we'll see. We know how they got on in the next season, but that was just a sign of things to come. And let's have a look here so you can see. So I think this is from soccerbase.com, and I think you'll find quite remarkable. So when it stops doing that, so here the win against Reading, pretty much the old team. Oh no, Ryan Woods is there. He starts that game. So that's his first game. Is he playing in that one? No. So, Ryan Woods. When did Ryan Woods sign? Let's scroll down. So 17th of January, Ryan Woods signed. Probably, so yeah, the game after he plays for Millwall and 2-0 win against Reading. But then he coincides with the unbeaten run. So we were winning before then. We beat Brentford, we beat Luton, we beat Newport, drew with Stoke. He comes in against Reading, but then we go on a little losing run. And he doesn't play in the FA Cup because he's not allowed. I think Stoke didn't give him permission. But he definitely played in the game after that, I'm sure. Yeah, the Leeds game. Yep, there you go. And this is the start of the formation changing, signing players that he wants to sign, and then he starts changing the formation to try and fit them in, and it doesn't really work. It's not really working. You can see here 5 defenders here. It's not really working. You can see that one of the highlights of this season is probably the Forest game, going away to Forest and winning 3-0. Matt Smith hat-trick. That was Friday night. That was on Sky. That was freaking amazing to watch. That old school performance from Matt Smith. Hat-trick in 13 minutes. 20th minute, 26th minute, 33rd minute. Absolutely smashed them. And look at the possession. They had more possession than us. Well, we just smashed them. Completely, absolutely smashed them. So there you go. So he's continuing. He's got a little bit of leeway because he's took over from Neil Harris, who had a really bad run, which you can see here. The 8 game without a win run. And that's bear that 8 games without a win. Remember that. That's going to come in useful later. And you're going to find out why. You can see here the wins are few and far between. 18th of January, 15th of February, so 1 win a month. 6th of March, 3rd of July, but that's because there was a gap. But then finishes strong for the end of the season. And it's quite remarkable as well. So I think once it was done and dusted that we couldn't, after that QPR game, that was basically done. We couldn't get into the playoffs. We were going to finish 8th or 9th or something. And you can see here, so even Juri Skalek scoring a goal. Were you there for that? Did you watch? Well, it's behind closed doors, but did you see that? Collector's item, a Juri Skalek goal for Millwall. Beat Huddersfield 4-1, and you can see here, like, so he's got James Brown started the game. He's got Hayden Muller on the bench, Junior Tenzi on the bench, Tyler Burry on the bench, Billy Mitchell on the bench. So giving the youth a chance there when at the end of the season. Interesting. Now we go to Gary Rowett's first proper season in charge of Millwall. This is all on him now. This is all on him. And if you look over here on your right hand side, biggest win, 4-1 against Sheffield Wednesday and 4-1 against Bristol City. Biggest defeat, 6-1 against Coventry. That was absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Let's just have a quick look at the season before. This is, yeah, they don't have that. That's weird. It's Wikipedia, they don't have it on that one. So let's have a look at transfers. So this is Gary Rowett's transfers. What did he do? What did he do? So we signed Mason Bennett on a permanent deal after having him on loan at the end of this last season. That was in summer, or just that was not in summer. It was after the season had started, I think. Oh no, that was the season started late because of COVID. That was before the season started. Let's go back up. No, where are the games? So the season, yeah, look. So the season started 12th of September. That was so Mason Bennett signed in the summer before the season started. Permanent deal after being on loan at the end of the last season. Mikael Keftenbeld, he signed in January transfer window. George Evans as well in January transfer window. But the other big signings from the summer were Ryan Woods on loan again, this time a season-long loan. Troy Parrott on loan until February 2021. Scott Malone on loan. Malone on loan until the end of the season. From struggling Derby County, desperate to get him off the wage bill, and because they were about to crash and burn financially. And Kenneth Zahor from 16th October from West Brom. That was till the end of the season. And here we go again with the youth being loaned out. Like I said in the last season, as Gary Rowett staple, the best players of the under 23s or the youngsters that are in the first team, in and around the first team squad, you go out on loan so you can play games, which kind of makes sense. We saw Isaac Loffey. He helped Sutton United get promoted, and Danny McNamara done very well with St Johnstone. He helped them win a couple of cups. Didn't get to finish that because he come back to Millwall early, but he did help them out. He helped them on the way, and some notable players leaving: Aidan O'Brien, Jason McCarthy, and Jiri Skalak went from Gary Rowett, showing him the way. Adios, mucho amigo. So there you go, Garrett's transfers. Now you got to remember, this is before Harvey Bustle started. So this is, I don't know who's advising Gary Rowett here, but we had a couple of absolute stinkers in Kenneth Zahor and Troy Parrott. They didn't promise what they were billed to deliver. We didn't get what we thought we were getting from them. We got injury before the season even started. Injury after injury with Zahor, and when they did play, they did nothing. They did literally nothing. And that's sometimes it do be like that. Sometimes it do be like that. So the pre-season was a pretty crappy one, because why would you play pre-season friendlies if you can't have any fans? And this was the whole season without fans. The season with no fans, as it will be remembered. And yeah. So the pre-season, won 3-0 at Southend, and then lost 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace. And we finished the season in 11th, a minus goal difference of 5, which was worse than last season. And you can see here. So you can see here. So look at. Let's go down. So we started off well. Didn't lose until the 4th game in the season. Then we go on a run of 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw. But from the 31st of October against Huddersfield Town, 3-0, the familiar 3, where we get absolutely battered. We end up shipping 3 goals for some reason, over and over. We did it against Middlesbrough in December. But this is the period here where the pressure really fucking started to land on Gary Rowett's back. From the Huddersfield game to the Middlesbrough game, we went 10 games without a win. 10 games without a win. Now remember when I told you from the 1920 season, Neil Harris 8 games without a win, and he quit. 8 games without a win. So now we've got Gary Rowett going 10 games without a win. 10 games without a win. Then we do win. Then we go another 4 games without a win. So that's 1 win in 15 games. People were really, I don't know if you remember, people were really, after that Middlesbrough defeat, people were really calling for Gary Rowett's head there. Like, it was starting to build up a head of steam. Because even with the fans not being able to go to the ground, we're not happy there. 1 win in 15. 1 win in 15. 10 games without a win. Why do we play? We play to win the game. 10 times you turned up. Now, if the fans were travelling to that, can you imagine? The away game, going to Norwich, going to Sheffield Wednesday, going to Birmingham, Blackburn, Middlesbrough. Even travelling to their home games against Derby, Queen's Park Rangers, Cardiff, Reading, Huddersfield, not getting a win. 10 times. Doing that 10 for the fans that go home and away, every game. Doing 10 games in a row and you don't see a win. Your blood's gonna be boiling. You're gonna be hating everything about the players, the manager, everything. 10 games without a win. And somehow, some way, I don't know, Rowett's still there. But then you look here, look at this. So like I said, so we go 10 games without a win, then 4 games without a win. And then we got this spell here from January to February, going unbeaten. 9 games unbeaten. What happened? What happened? And so was that 32? So you can see here on this graph here, tells you where we are in the league. So look, so we're 4th. Look at here. After the 8th match, we're 4th in the league. We're flying high. And then that's when this shit run happens of 10 games without a win. We slide all the way down to 17th. 17th. From being 4th after 8 games, we go all the way down to 17th. How the fuck? He must have been clinging onto his job by his fingernails. Are you serious? What's happened there? Then we have the 1 win, which staves off the slide. But then we have the 2 draws and the 2 defeats, just treading water. And then the unbeaten run. from 24 to 32. You go sees us slide up to 11th. So danger averted. We've adjusted course, and then we go on a little run because we lose, but then we win, and we lose, and then we win. And let's go down here to where that was. So you look here at Millwall. So the game here, the 0-0 against Wickham, and then the 1-1 against Luton. So we played 2 games. We've got two draws, 2 points. But then we play against Barnsley and we lose. But then we win against Preston North End. Now, the win and the loss is better than 2 draws. Because if you play 2 games, you get 2 draws. That's 2 points out of a possible 6. But you didn't lose. You're not a loser. But in the Barnsley and the Preston game, you lose 1, you win 1. You got 3 points out of a possible 6. But you lost 1, but you won 1. And that's better than drawing 2 games. So we go on this run here. We lose and then we win. We lose and then we win. We lose and then we win 3 in a row. And that's game 40. So where are we at game 40? Let's go back up. Game 40, we're 9th. We are 9th. We are staring up at the playoffs. They are just there. They are just there. We can get them if we want. But then the season just fades to grey. We lose away at Swansea again. Another 3. We lose at home to Swansea. 3. Another 3. Anytime we lose, we concede 3 goals. Isn't that weird? What is that about? There, Swansea. To QPR we lost 3-2. Nottingham Forest we lost 3-1. Middlesbrough 3-0. Huddersfield Town 3-0 at home. There were no fans there, but can you imagine if there were? But that's the thing. Does this season count? Does it count? Because it's behind closed doors, because there are no fans, because of COVID, Gary Rowett can always point to this and say, "Oh, this is he's got something to blame, to point to and say this was a problem. This interrupted our season. This wasn't good for us." He can point to that. So that's probably why when we do go 10 games without a win, he can say, "Oh, it's the testing. The players are sticking the thing up their nose every day. They don't like it. It's all the COVID things. It's not good for us. It's messing with us." And that's probably why he hasn't fired after not winning for 10 games or just having 1 win in 15 games. Because that is shocking. Having 1 win in 15 games. That is absolutely disgraceful. But because of this COVID thing, he's got an excuse. He can point to that and say, come on, boss." And away we go. But then, so we find ourselves back up the table. We win 3 in a row. This is what winning does. It gets you there. It gets you at the top. So we go up to 9th, and then we fuck it up, losing. So we fail to score against Swansea, against Brentford, against Watford, and then we lose heavily against Bournemouth and Coventry. We play away at Coventry. They weren't even playing in their own ground. That was a absolute joke. That was. Let's have a look at that. Coventry 6-1. This was when. So after the Bournemouth defeat, it was basically done and dusted. We couldn't do anything. We were out of the playoffs. So a lot of the fans were saying, play the youths, play some of the youngsters. But he doesn't. What he does do, he puts Marlon Romeo centre back. Like, seriously? You've got Hayden Muller as a centre back, sitting on the bench. You've got even Alex Pearce, who many thought he would be leaving at the end of the season, but that turns out he didn't. They re-signed him. Play him. But no, let's put Marlon Romeo as a centre back. Pretty weird. And yeah, so it worked against Bristol City, and it did not against Coventry. Quite bigly. Absolutely smashed. And it was a sight to behold. We didn't have a shot on target there, according to this. Unbelievable. Yeah, the goal was an own goal. So crazy end of the season, though. Crazy end to a crazy season, the COVID season, which gives Gary Rowett an out. He's something he can point to and say, hang on a minute, that wasn't a real season, that was a COVID season. You can't really judge me on that. So let's move now to this season. This season is a real season. This season isn't a COVID season. This is Gary Rowett's first real season, and he's got his man in. He got Harvey Bustle in January. So, you know, the recruitment. How was that? The signings we made, pretty good. Everyone felt very good about the signings at the start of the season. What were they? So George Long, goalkeeper from Hull, played in the cup games. Played all right. Yeah, he seems all right. Scott Malone, permanent deal from Malone. Nice, decent. But the one thing I will say, so Malone seems not to be up to the standard that he was last season. Now, many have suggested, is that because he's got his deal? As like, if you're playing for a deal, you're playing for a deal. You've got to impress people to get them to sign you. Is it because of that? Is it because he's injured? Apparently he was playing with a knock, so maybe he couldn't fully unleash because he was a bit knocked up. Or is it because Shane Ferguson was released at the end of last season? So who's competing with him? Who's his competition? He's undroppable. You can't drop him. You're gonna drop him for Murray Wallace? Why would you? So maybe he's kind of dropped off the boil then, but it could be for any of those reasons. I don't know. But he's not as good as he was last season so far this season, which is not good. Not good. So here we go. George Saville. That was by people who remembered him last time, that was a very impressive signing. So we've got Gary Rowett and we've got Harvey Buswin now. It seems the signings are pretty decent now. It's working out. So I don't know who advised him about fucking Kenneth Zahor and Troy Parrott, but signings this season seem to be bang on. So if that's a Harvey Bustle guy, doing a decent job. And Danny Ballard from Arsenal, spot on, absolutely amazing. Probably our second best player of the season so far, just behind Jed Wallace. Benicophobe, very good, better than I thought he would be. Shea Yojo, doing well so far. Shame he got the COVID or whatever he had, positive test, and if he actually had it or what happened, but he was missing for 10 days. Not good, just he was starting to get going, but like what I see so far from him. So yeah, there's the signings now. These are Gary Rowett signings, Gary Rowett and Harvey Bustle signings. That's seems to be working out. Again, with the loaning out, the youngsters, the under 23s, get them loaned out, get them playing. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Got to give Gary Rowett props for that. And players he let go: Sean Williams, Shane Ferguson, Frank Fielding, James Brown. Yeah, a lot of people. Shane Ferguson. A lot of people were expecting Alex Pearce to be let go, but he wasn't, and they re-signed him because he's a character in the dressing room, which don't know. It's a football club, not Butlins holiday camp, but there you go. And so you can see the pre-season here, even though I think most of these were behind closed doors, apart from the Gillingham game and the Ipswich game. I do believe you can see a lot more friendlies this season than compared to last season, and certainly trying to work things out there. He was going on about match fitness at the start of this season a lot, and here's where we are so far: 11th, 15 points, 6 draws. So there you go. So 2 draws, then 2 defeats, and we're 21st in the table. There. And it's not looking good. And for whatever reason, it seems when it doesn't look good for Gary Rowett, he pulls his finger out of his arse and sorts something out. And then we got an unbeaten run of 7 games, 3 wins, 4 draws, from staring at a relegation zone. But again, look at these results here from the Blackpool game. So Blackpool, we scored 2 goals against them. They were down to, okay, Willis Sharp here. They got man sent off in 14 minutes, and we only just won that game. Cooper scoring at the right of the death. Like, seriously? And you see all the other games. 1-1, 0-0, 1-1, 1-1, 1-0, 1-0. We're not scoring 2 goals very often. And again, the Cardiff game, these shock defeats, they gut punch us, always with the 3 goals conceded. Seems to be a pattern emerging from Gary Rowett. When we lose bigly by 3 goals or more. And when we win, it's 1-0. Or it's a 1-1 draw. Because we can't score more than 1 goal. Because we're too defensive. we're playing for the draw. Again here, for the cup run. We play lower league opposition. They score first, both times, against Portsmouth and against Cambridge. They scored the first goal. And then we come back and win it. But then we play against Leicester. And we're playing to not lose. It's a cup game. You need to win it. We're playing tippy tappy. Don't mess around. And then Leonard takes the throw in. Instead of throwing it forward, trying to win the game by advancing the ball towards the opposition's goal, he throws it back to Jake Cooper, who gets dispossessed, and then they score the first goal. And it's over, because if we don't keep a clean sheet, we can't win. And that's how it is. If we don't keep a clean sheet, we can't win. We had a lot of injuries at the start of the season, which didn't help with the winless run. And you can see, as we're getting more and more players back, we're able to win games. But we can't be just winning games 1-0 all the time. And if the last season is anything to go by under Gary Rowett, you can see here this decent run in the middle, this decent run here at the top. The next 4 games could be hardcore defeats. They really could. There seems to be no rhyme or reason or pattern of play, or there's not even any. Can you say realistically which Millwall game over the last couple of seasons of Gary Rowett's tenure that you enjoyed the most? Is there one game that stands out for you? There isn't for me. Like, let's have a look through. Like, we had a big result against Sheffield Wednesday, but was that notable? Was that exciting? What happened in that game? So that was Malone, Thompson, Bradshaw. It's a Hall penalty. Oh. Now again, it was COVID season. There was no fans there, but we're getting results against teams. At Bournemouth, we drew 1-1 with them. Norwich, we drew 0-0. But we're eking out these little wins, these little draws. There's no. We're not going at the big teams. Again, a 0-0 draw with Norwich. We drew 2 games with them 0-0. Watford 0-0. Now I know they were the best teams in the league, but is that how we're going to play against the best teams in the league? Try and come out of it with a 0-0, and then we try and catch shit teams like Sheffield Wednesday on a bad day and win 4-1. Is there any game here under Gary Rowett where you thought, okay, wow, that was fantastic? Seriously, was there? Again here, Crawley Town 3-1, Cheltenham 3-1. So when we play more attacking against the lower league team, we score more goals, but we concede. But then we get a Burnley, and we try and play defensively, and it just doesn't work. There's no passion. There's no excitement. There's no driving forward. It's just, well, here's the thing. This was the COVID season. Maybe if you watch the game on TV, it's not going to be memorable for you. So again, maybe we just have to write off this whole season. But then moving on to this one. Were any of these games exciting? Were any of these games fun for you to watch, to be there. Maybe the Forest game. So there you go. Gary Rowetts' first 100 games in charge. Where will the next 100 go? Where will the next 35 games go? Rest of this season. What are we going to do in the FA Cup? Because a pattern seems to be emerging with Gary Rowett. He sets the teams up not to lose, which means we don't lose but we draw, and we draw, we don't win. We need to win games to go up the league. You can't draw your way up the league, as we saw here. Where was it? Here. What is it? This one. So when you're drawing games, so these games here, drawing games, you're not going up the league. But when you come to here, and you win one, you lose one, you win one, you lose one, you win, you start going up the league. I'd rather win and then lose than draw 2 games. I'm sorry, maybe that's just me, but we play to win the game. In America, I know this is in America, they don't let the teams draw. They have baseball games they're supposed to be 9 innings. They'll go to 15, 16 innings. They'll play extra. They'll make them keep playing till somebody wins. You do not get to draw. But here we are. So that's one failing of Gary Rowett. Too many draws. Doesn't set his teams up to win. Here's another failing that I think. Not setting your team up to win is going to be a problem when it comes to getting in the playoffs. See, even if you do manage this not losing but drawing and then winning and occasionally, if that does get you in the playoffs somehow, some way, when you get there, it switches to a cup competition. You need to win. You need to win. You cannot draw a cup competition. So that's the whole way that he's doing it. Setting the team up to not lose, which means we then draw, which means we're not actually trying to win the game. It's not exciting to watch, and it's not gonna win us anything. You can see it over his career in cup competitions. He's done nothing. He's done nothing. In the playoffs, he's done nothing. He won one semi-final, got to a final, lost it 1-0, and you need to win some games, mate. So that's Gary Rowett's first 100 games in charge. Let's have a look. Where are we at? So Gary Rowett, current Millwall manager, 100 games in charge, 38 wins, 34 draws, 28 defeats, 117 goals for, 108 against. There you go. Let's see what the next 100 hold. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching this special edition of Daily Millwall, and goodbye.